Good morning, Jeanne. It's really lovely for you to join us. We really appreciate it, and it's actually something we've been wanting to do for a while. So, welcome to the Lucentlands Podcast, and we are all ears. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Jeanne de Waal. It's a pleasure to be here. I am an entomologist, so I have a PhD in entomology.
So, we should be calling you doctor, actually.
Just Jeanne is fine. So I actually come from a city background and decided that I wanted to study at Stellenbosch University. And obviously, when I was standing in the registration queue, you've got the winelands around you, and I just knew that I have to do something related to agriculture. So I very quickly had to switch my 9 waist shoes for a pair of gumboots and kind of roll with the locals. And that's where the whole agriculture thing started for me. And as I studied, we got introduced to pest and disease management of vines. And that's that is what tickled the interest for me. And that's where the whole thing with entomology and bugs started.
So were you planning on studying something else initially?
Initially, I actually was planning on...
And that would have been?
So initially, I actually wanted to be a human doctor.
Okay.
And that kind of got tweaked a bit, and today I'm like a plant doctor. So I'm still...
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And there's an oversupply on the other one.
Well, yeah, yes and no, but I mean... the roles are quite different in the sense that if I was a human doctor, my patient would want to be alive. But if you're an entomologist and you specialize in pest management, it's the other way around. You have to get rid of the patient as such.
Well, I actually had such a laugh. We were chatting to somebody else yesterday, and they were telling us all about, attract and kill and all of this stuff. And I was thinking, there's a movie title in there, Fatal Attraction.
No, for sure, for sure. So there's a lot of mating behavior being studied, and it's actually very comical at times, but very interesting also.
So you're clearly very passionate about what you do. You must love it because, we're looking at the books that you've actually published. So tell us about your journey.
So yes, passion is a big thing, and I really like what I do, and I think I'm very lucky to be in that position. So when I finished my BSc Agri degree, I enrolled for an MSc and a PhD, and that is pure scientific writing, and you become very knowledgeable in a specific subject. But I always knew that I wanted to bring the message home. I wanted to translate all of that information in a way that the industry which we serve and the farmers, and that's what matters at the end of the day, I wanted to translate that information in a way that they could not only understand it, but also use it and implement it. And that's where I started with, I don't know what to call it, not scientific writing, but more general type of popular articles and things like that. And writing has always been a sideline hobby for me, and that's kind of where this book, The Guides were born, was the whole idea of let's package all of that information in one format so that we can take all of that information out into the field, and that's what started Scout.
Fantastic. A lot of people get overwhelmed when people start using scientific names for things, and it kind of gets a bit beyond them. So in essence, what I see that you've done is you've taken stuff that people think is, scientific stuff that they don't know about, and packaged it in a far more popular and easy to approach way in your publications. So, we're looking at these books. There are 3 of them, and you said there's another one as well.
Yes. So the Scout book, just to give you some background, is a...
And please show the camera.
So here's 2 of them. So it's a field guide that we wrote for industry, as said. So what we see often is we have people moving around in the orchards and in the vineyards, and they'll see something is wrong, but they don't always know what exactly is wrong. And we wanted to give them a tool that they can take out with them into the field. And if they see, hey, I'm seeing discoloration, leaves discoloring or sooty mold, a type of disease symptom or whatever, that they would be able to go into the book and see, do they recognize any of the symptoms being described in here, and give that pest or problem a name. And the moment that you understand your pest, you can start, going into a more specific direction in terms of, okay, now I have this, at least I now know what it is. So the next step is, how do we manage it? So,
as they say, knowledge is power.
Knowledge
so that's
is
what you
power.
help doing with this.
Exactly.
I'm looking at these books, and I'm almost thinking back at the old Cecil Bird Guide, where somebody would buy a bird book, take it with them to Kruger or wherever, and if they see something, they would go look. And then they would see all the identification things there. That subsequent has gone into a very successful app online.
Yes, so interesting enough, when we started the book, first of all, we needed funding. So it was this great idea, but somebody needs to pay for it to develop it. So we approached Laufeld Agrichem at the time, and also several of the other industry sponsors, and everybody was so keen to support because, as you say, they understand the need, and like a Roberts Bird Guide, there was this intense need in industry as well. So they said, well, take it and run with it. And yes, we talked about a digital option or creating an app, but there's a lot of apps out there at the moment. And we thought to ourselves, look, we're serving a farming community. It's people out there in the middle of nowhere. There's not always cell phone connection or even a mobile device at hand. So that's why we thought, let's just go back to basics and let's write, as they say, like a boere boekie, like a boere bakkie boekie. And something interesting, when we did the book originally, I first thought of like a coffee table type of book. And the people helping with the book actually said, no. You have to condense it, make it smaller, so that it literally can fit into the cubbyhole of a Toyota Hilux bakkie. And that's
Or behind the seat.
So, yes, so we created this book. I made sure that it's...
So is that to Toyota Hilux specifications?
Exactly, it really is. So you can go test it in any one of the bakkies parked outside here. And we made sure that the text is nice and big, so that if you're in the field and you don't have your reading glasses, that you can still read and see.
It's just beautiful. Please just show the camera, because I remember you telling me that you actually did the layout in a way almost like a recipe book.
Yes, so
Because there's a definite feminine touch here, and the aesthetics have been put together in a way that the normal scientific stuff does not look like this. So it's really beautiful, Jeanne.
yeah, well, people say that they eat with their eyes. I sometimes also think they read much more in a visual way than what we
Yeah, they'll
think.
look at pictures first.
So and the pictures kind of brings it home. And if you're standing in front of a vine or an infected orchard or whatever, you'll be looking at a visual. So it really brings the message home if you connect that visual to this visual. And that's why we thought, let's put a lot of photos in here. Let's make it understandable for all levels. So, and as you say, yes, I copied a recipe book layout, in the sense that I would always have like your first page is like your general type of just the name of the insect. And as you know, each insect name, there's a common name. So a boerenaam or industry name. And a general name, and then you've got your scientific names and also all the different species. And then we would show a second photo of the different types in that group and a short description of the pest. And then we go over to the biology. So this is very important that growers understand not only what type of pest it is, but also how it moves and where it feeds. And, are they above ground? Do they have a below ground soil stage, for example? Because that has a big impact on your decision-making process. Like, do I have to release beneficials above ground, or is it something that I have to apply to the soil to make sure that we actually hit the target? And then also, of course, including lots of photos, explaining the different life cycles. And what also sometimes happens is you'll have other insects which look very similar. So it happens that people confuse things. So we also made sure that if there's anything which might look remotely similar, to have a second visual just to tell the two apart and how to do that.
Okay.
Then
That is
we
very
have
nice, that little graphic.
Yeah, we have an amazing graphic designer that helped us to draw up our own life cycles based on the biology, just to have a schematic like layout so that with one glance you can see exactly how the life cycle works. And then, of course, the disease or the pest symptoms, like the damage symptoms. So what are the things that you have to look out for? Will you be seeing, for example, grapes which are shriveling, or something like fruit fly tunnels, like the larvae tunnel in the fruit? So are you going to see like a sugary substance or whatever? So it's all just tips like how to make sure that what you're seeing is actually related to the specific pest. And then you'll see that the book's name is Scout. So a scout is the people or a person in the field actually monitoring for these diseases. So we have to monitor to know which issues we have and how to address it.
Because
So-
there needs to be a dedicated person in charge of that. Because if you do it and I do it and Louise do it on the same farm, the numbers is not going to be correct.
No, for sure. So it's important that we have like a specific scout or scouting team that go out often into the orchards or vineyards. So for the scouting section, we'll explain if there's traps available. I'm sure you've had interviews with people specializing in trapping and all of that. We illustrate that, we explain it, and then also the probably the most important section, the control section. So here we talk about cultural control practices, chemical control options, biological control options, and the thing with some of these control options is they change over time. New technology gets introduced. So
Or restrictions on actives.
Yes, so all of you know how many actives we're losing. So to make the book more timeless, we also focused on timeless control options. So that's why
Makes
you'll
sense.
see a lot of emphasis being put on cultural control practices, biological control options, and yes, of course, we refer to chemical control, but it's in order to make sure that this book can be used for the next 10 or 20 years, we made sure to not mention specific products, but rather the control strategy in general.
Well, that makes sense.
It's very clever. This is so beautiful, Jeanne. It is beautifully done. And I mean, it makes you want to pick the book up and really dive in, because the photos are incredible and the layout is wonderful. The text is nicely spaced, nicely sized, so it's not intimidating. There's nothing worse than tight text, tiny little font, and then tightly written. This makes you want to look and read, and it's while you're reading, you're looking as well, because the photos are stunning. And I remember you telling me that you took a lot of the photos yourself.
Yes, for sure. So that's another hobby for me. I'll never become a wedding photographer, but I do enjoy.
Been there, done that.
You've got the T-shirt. So I enjoy macro photography more, and of course I didn't take all the photos, and I had an amazing team of co-authors, Ernst, Annemarie, and Des for the tomato book, and we basically everybody contributed, and you'll also see in the beginning of the book, we actually said that this is a landbouwfamilie poging. Like, we're not in this alone, and we really reached out to industry. And for example, if I was writing a chapter on something like fruit fly, if I didn't have the best perfect photo, I would reach out to people in the industry and say, hey, don't you maybe have a nice photo which you'd be willing to contribute to the book? And people were amazing. So we give them full photo credit, of course, but we had so many people coming to us saying, I've got a great photo of leafhopper, do you want to include, etc. So these books, one cannot write it alone, and that's what also makes it special, and it's amazing also the connections that you build, and even just the understanding of which pests are where. So yes, a lot of the photos are in here. We also had a great graphic designer who spent a lot of time trying to edit out all our dirty, muddy nails just to get the photo focused on the insect. So a lot of work went into it.
You could just put a caption said, not the author's hands.
Yeah.
But Jeanne, it's a massive leap of faith to actually do this. How has it been? I mean, and this one on the grapes was your first one.
Actually not.
Not,
So
okay.
so we started we started with the citrus one, and initially I started writing this book, and then I realized I actually don't have all the expertise, and that's why I very quickly realized I need co-authors. So, and that's where I approached Arends de Beer. He's also with Lawveld Agrichem, and Anne-Marie, and we actually split into 3 geographic areas. So Arends is in the Eastern Cape, I'm in the Western Cape, and Anne-Marie is in the Groblersdal area,
Okay.
which made it even more special. And so the 3 of us started writing this book together, and obviously through Arends we got the Lawveld sponsorship, and through Lawveld they reached out to other industry companies and also crop bodies who also said, look, we're behind you all the way, we'll support you. So that's where it started, was citrus, and the first book was in Afrikaans, and then I realized, but hey, wait, there's lots of farmers who are English and advisors, so we then translated it into English. We had a very good.
It was before AI.
Yeah, this was before AI. There was no AI when we started this book. So we have an old school, which is great, like
So these are the
language
English and
editor.
Afrikaans versions of the same book.
Yes, so
Okay.
and we just have different photos
Yes,
just to show that
just
the one is
beautiful.
English, the one is
But
Afrikaans.
this one is interesting. I'll want to hold this to the camera. See, there on the cover you said is the pest, that one, and then right above it, small, is the
parasitoid.
Yes.
So it's the natural enemy.
and
of
that
the
happened to be
specific-
taken like that.
So Arends took this photo, and I think he was so lucky because he was actually busy taking a photo of this butterfly, which is actually a pest insect of citrus. And when he was editing or looking through his photos later, he realized, hey, but there's the parasitoid. And if you look even closer, you'll see that butterfly has just deposited an egg on the leaf. So that's the detail, and I think that's also the magic of taking high quality photos in orchards. At the time, you think you're just taking a photo of this, but upon closer inspection, you sometimes see, hey, but here's the egg, and here's the biocontrol agent. So
Wow.
but this
But-
was like
Incredible.
But that butterfly in particular, I remember when we were when I was young, we had a lemon tree in our garden, and there used to be many of those, and we used to catch them, and
Yes.
they're so beautiful. But now, like literally now, was the first time I realized that's actually a pest.
They call it the orange dog, which it obviously doesn't look like a dog, but it's always interesting, some of the general names. And the larva of the butterfly is very visual and
Yes.
easy to spot, and they really occur in a lot of home gardens. So
Yes.
and because it's a butterfly, people think, oh, it's a good insect, but it's not. And this is actually what the larva. Oops, sorry about that. So that's what the larva looks like. So it's and that's where the importance comes in of understanding what is the different life stages. And for example, here is the pupa, and if you look, I mean, that looks like very well camouflaged. So most people would just
Could be bird poop.
yeah, bird poo or a piece of bark or whatever. So they're very clever, and nature is just fascinating, like that. And here's a more developed one. So they're massive.
Wow.
So, and obviously birds love this, and there's your little parasitoid. So yes, so it started with citrus, and then
When did you start?
this was in 2019 already.
Okay.
So
It's
many,
not that long
No.
ago.
it actually, one thinks that it's easy to write a book.
No.
It takes forever, and it was also a sideline hobby for me. So it's something that I would
Yeah,
do.
somebody had to pay the bills or something. to pay the bills.
Lawfeld was the sponsor, but this for me was really just a hobby. And myself and Adams, then also the other authors, this is like a legacy. This is something that if for whatever reason one of us is not here tomorrow or next year, it's something that you can leave behind. And this is what I feel really adds value to industry. And I'm at my happiest if I can see that something I know gets transferred to somebody else and that they can really run with it. So that was citrus. And then I started with the grapevines. So a lot of the, specifically table grapes, a lot of the table grape growers are Afrikaans. So initially we thought, let's do Afrikaans. But there's been quite a few requests of people advising in other countries which are English speaking, or even a few English farmers. So I think the next step for us will probably be to translate to English. And at the same time, another entomologist, Des van Heerden, she had actually just retired, and she approached Lawfeld saying, well, she's seen these books. She's a tomato expert. Can she maybe write the tomato version of Scout? And before we knew it, we had a tomato book as well, also in English and Afrikaans. So the idea is to expand this. So we've done these. Next up will be apples and pears and stone fruit, so fruit one. Maybe macadamias, maybe one day maize. So it will almost be like a crop compendium, but aimed for farmers.
Jeanne, this is phenomenal. I mean, certainly nothing as beautiful and as easy to read as ever existed before. How has it been received?
I think the guys like it. And obviously a big plus, the fact that it can fit into a bakkie. And one will be surprised how much they actually, like apps they come in, they get developed. It's fascinating, it's great. Phone gets full, app gets deleted, and the way it goes. But books is one of those timeless things. People always come back to the book. And we have quite a few really amazing books in industry at our disperse or that we can use. So the book has been received really well, not only by scouts. Initially, we only targeted for scouts, but farm managers and students and even academics. I think academics operate like very high level, and when they see this, they kind of understand, but what's really going on in the field, and what are the things that they read for, the information that they need. So we have and companies and company representatives. It's a really nice guide to use. So it's been well received. I'm happy, and it's quite freely available. And obviously, there's still a lot of books out there, and we'd like to make it even more available over time.
So has your job description changed from entomologist to author?
No, like I'm still an entomologist at heart, and the writing really it's a hobby, and I enjoy writing about insects. I don't think I'll ever write a book about about anything else, but I enjoy this, and I look forward to the next edition.
So it's always a difficult thing when you do a book and you finished it and it goes to the publisher. It's always difficult to set a number. How many are you going to print? So my question is, have you had to do a second run on any of these books from the first one? Because that is the litmus test.
It is quite a calculated, it's a very thing which is thought through very well. So they literally look at the hectares, they look at the amount of farmers, and then based on that, they kind of try and estimate how many books do we need to print. And as you know, the more you print, the cheaper it also becomes. And the whole idea of these books is not to make money, it's just to make it available to growers. So it was quite a big guessing game. So for the first book, I think we published like 500, and we thought, no, that's more than enough. But they've reprinted since. So it shows you like how many people, they see the book on another farmer's table and they're like, oh, where did you get this? And suddenly that's how the demand grows.
And what will also happen if they use it a lot, which they should, it will get used,
No, for sure.
They'll need to replace it at some point.
And we'll also like, if there's new information coming through, it's great when it sells out, because if you have to reprint, you can always just include if there's a new pest discovery or a name change. Like taxonomists love changing names. We can make the change and then print again. So we would like to try, yes, it's a timeless book, but science evolves. So we'd like to evolve with the science. So yeah, we've sold a lot of copies, and that's great.
So
Dewald, while we're just talking about the books, we need to actually tell people where, if they want this book, how do they get hold of it?
So we actually had it on a platform, dieplaaswinkel.co.za, which was almost like electronic ordering. But at the moment, we're selling it through the Lawveld advisors. So, and we have advisors literally in every single province, in every single small little town. So if there's a farmer or anybody that wants to get hold of a book, they can just reach out to the local advisor in the area, and they can easily bring them a book, or they can just pick one up from one of the depots. Or they can also just phone Lawveld's head office and order a book, and they'll make sure that the person in that area brings it to them. So,
and I have to ask the commercial question: what are the books selling for?
Oh,
You're not sure?
The last time I checked, it was around 400 rand.
Okay.
So, and it's I think like if you include the VAT, it's 425 rand. So that's what they're going for at the moment. And again, as said, the idea was never to make lots of money out of it. We wanted to get the information out there, and I think to make the book more affordable, because I think you know what a book really costs, and paying for the editors and graphic designers,
the time
and the time. You need quite an amount, but that's why we reached out to other industry partners as well. So all of these companies that are mentioned in the book contributed quite generously to the fund to help us lower the price so that we could make it more affordable for a grower. You'll see on one farm, quite often the big farms, they'll have more than one scout. So we wanted to make the book, or price the book in such a way that everybody could have a book, and that it's not like investing in a new Ferrari.
No, well, thanks for sharing that with us, because it's important that people know. I mean, they can see the book, they want to know. Like if they see it, they want to know, can they get it, how much, and as you're saying, to publish a hardcover book today like that, it's actually, quite frankly, it's cheap at the price.
There's like small details that you don't think of.
Yeah.
We know that farmers like live a very fast-paced like lifestyle out there, and things are tough and rough and full of mud, etc. So we actually, that was a small little detail, but the stitching in the book, we made sure that we used double stitching so that the pages wouldn't come loose after like a month's use. So this book is quite hardy. It's not waterproof, but
so it can go in the 4x4 bucky.
It can go. It for sure goes in the 4x4 bucky. That's where we want it, and. Yeah, it doesn't need Wi-Fi. You don't have to download an app. It's
there
just the book. So
wonderful.
So my question is, and I've asked this to people many times, when you arrive where people don't know you, like you get invited to a braai, and nobody knows you. Now he goes around, okay, right, who are you? Now I'm John. What do you do? What do you tell them?
it sounds strange if you tell them I do bugs for a living. So, an entomologist is also not a word that everybody knows, but that is my qualification. And the short and the long is I try to keep what you're eating today clean and in good condition. So, and with that comes the whole pest and disease management and making sure that the way we manage these pests and diseases are in a holistic, like IPM friendly type of safe ways so that we ensure that what you're eating is free of residues, is as natural and as healthy as possible.
So that comes to my next question. And we've spoken to Sean Moore earlier. What is IPM? Because I think if you ask a lot of growers out there, you say, do you practice IPM? Oh, those little hochheitjies we put in the orchard. I don't think a lot of people know what IPM really is and what is all involved with it. So maybe from your perspective, what can you tell us about IPM?
I mean, Sean is the expert.
I know.
So he gave a brilliant talk actually at the CRI event, like about IPM. But IPM to me is, the definition is integrated pest management. So what it basically says is there's not a silver bullet, right? And you need an integrated approach. And it's not sustainable to rely only on one component of IPM. So you can't just keep on spraying. You'll soon be in a pesticide treadmill or run into resistance risk. And same with biology. Yes, it would be great if we can control all our pests biologically, but yes, at times we still need chemistry. And it doesn't stop there. From a cultural point of view, you sometimes have to do, like, for example, dust management, so that the beneficials don't like dust, so that they stay with the pest, etc. So integrated pest management is the combination of these three circles that I referred to now. So the one is chemical control, the other one is biological control, and the other one is cultural control. And if you were to try and layer all three of those circles on top of each other, that sweet spot in the middle, that's IPM. So, and I think that's the most sustainable way moving forward to manage whatever pest and disease we need to in a commercial agricultural setup.
And in your movements all around the country, in writing these books, how are the farmers embracing this? Are there guys doing a fantastic job that can be said, that can be shown as, go to so and so and you will see how it should be done? Are there those kind of people?
There's so many of them, and I think farmers are probably the best people out there, the purest people, and they farm because they have this big love for nature. They're responsible people. They feel responsible for the land. They're contributing to the next generation, etc. So they see the bigger picture and they realize that it doesn't make sense to just like take a short-term approach and like just spray. So they're very open to the idea of IPM, and I think they also realize this is the way forward. So they're very ontvankelijk, what's the word? Receptive to new technologies, new options, be it biological or you referred to mating disruption just now. It's just like amazing to see how all of these technologies are being implemented at on farm level. So for sure, they're open for it. They apply it, and it's not just what they want or what the future generations want, it's also what the consumer wants. And because, for example, for table grapes or citrus, we export most of our fruit to countries such as Europe, etc., and they are very environmentally conscious. And if a farmer should not want to go that direction, he's kind of being forced in that direction as well, because we have very lots of restrictions and lots of hakkies om oor te spring in order to be able to export. And IPM, it's what the consumer wants, it's what the market wants, but it's also what we want from an ethical point of view. Like we also want to protect what's out there and make sure that it's still there for the next 100 years, for sure.
I have a question for you, and I'm a woman, and I'm asking you the question as a woman. To be an entomologist is, I think it's 50 years ago, very few female entomologists were there. I think you are a bit of a role model to younger women moving into the fruit industry. Have you had resistance, or have you been well met in the fruit industry? Just share a little bit about that and what you would say to young women that are thinking of being and I'm just getting stuck on that damn word again, entomologist.
Yeah, she got stuck earlier. She could.
No, for sure. So yes, when I started let's just say recently, but no, it was many years ago, there were very few females or women in agriculture as such. We had a few absolute pioneers like, for example, Eleonora also.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she
Tannie Eleonora.
She's incredible.
Sy het al die hekke vir ons afgetrap. So, I mean, so she, to me, she's one of my role models. So, yes, initially it's a bit intimidating. And even today, still sometimes I'll go to a farmer's meeting and it will be 60 guys and you. And I wasn't really sure how to position myself or how to handle it.
Well, you get these old, staunch Afrikaans farmers and wat soek jy dogtertjie?
Dis die beste. I like them. So, and I once had a very good discussion with somebody who told me, do not try to compete with a male. You're a female, he's a male. So realize each one of you were made like uniquely in the sense that guys are great with like technical things. They're incredible when it comes to calibrating a spray pump or driving a bakkie through a really rough terrain or, fixing something like mechanical on a tractor, etc. You're a female, so yes, you might be more inclined to look at finer details or, they can spray the trial, but you can...
finer details like these beautiful books. And absolutely beautiful.
So, you color in the picture from that side. And if you can see the bigger picture that if you put that skill set together with this skill set, the final product it's magic. So that's where you want to be. So don't feel intimidated or threatened. Rather embrace like how you and another person is different. And I always say like information is your real sword out there. So at the end of the day, specifically in the field of entomology or pest and disease management, the farmer has a problem, right? And he wants to know how to fix it. So he's looking for an answer. He's looking for information. So at the end of the day, he doesn't really care whether he's getting that information from a girl, a guy, a young person, an old person, what gender, what color, what race, what is it Google or is it AI, ChatGPT, whatever. So he just wants the answer. And that is what people should be focused on, is like, how do I equip myself with whatever and to be able to give the best answer. Don't worry about the rest. You just focus on growing yourself technically. So.
And young people now, we always get this discussion, and I was involved with some schools in my previous photography life. When you speak to young people, they don't think about agriculture. So and please correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't think about it also when you thought about going to become a doctor. But yet if you speak to them, there's a lot of them who want to be doctors.
True.
How do we make inroads into that to let them see how cool this really is?
Well, I think these podcasts that you're doing is amazing.
It's just like the youngsters listen to them.
Well, they're very amazing with technology. And I think it is all about, what's the word, like to tell people that this exists, almost like marketing agriculture. And I think the responsibility lies with us to show younger students and people there are other options to consider. So people can't choose something if they don't know about it. So luckily, a lot of the degrees, for example, a BSc or well, let's take BSc as an example. It's a very general direction. So you'll be doing science, biology, etc. And as you go along, you'll get exposed to specific divisions, for example, agriculture, and then even later on pest management, etc., or soil science or viticulture. And sometimes it's not a bad thing to not know exactly what you want to do. So once you start studying, you'll get exposed to it, and very soon you'll know, do I like this or don't I like this?
That's the thing. If you're 16
you
years
can-
old,
You can kind of tweak it as you get along, so that one day you end up in a career that you actually enjoy. So that to me is the biggest fear, is people who decide they did this like personality test analysis, and now it says I have to be a lawyer. Now they become a lawyer, and 2 years into their career, they realize I actually hate that. And you have to start over again or go into something completely different. So that's why I always tell younger people, it's okay not to know. I didn't know either, but as you go along, you will be exposed, and you must make sure to expose yourself to other things.
and be open to it.
You have to be open to it. So,
And also, I think it comes from our generation of parents, is that you must become a doctor because you'll earn well, you must become a lawyer, you must become an engineer, and they are telling their children, go into that direction. So I think an education of the older, like us, my kids are still small, so for me it's easier because I am exposed to this. But for our parents, they still believe that you're going to work for a company for 45 years and then retire by the sea, which, no, it's not like that anymore.
I think people are also changing. So with the whole COVID thing, people were kind of forced into nature a bit more. I think there's more of a consciousness now. People are more aware of what they eat, where it comes from, a lot of us started growing our own little vegetable patches in COVID. And there was suddenly this other element or awareness that came with COVID. And I think it's like people are trying to eat healthier, etc. And with that comes the whole idea of being exposed to the whole fruit production or vegetable production process. And for the first time, people are asking the question, where is my apple coming from? Is it, for example, Woolworths is doing a very good effort with the whole farming for the future thing. And I think they're marketing a lot of the things in agriculture really well. And people are becoming more conscious of that. So I'm seeing a bit of a shift. So not everybody wants to have an office job 8 to 5 anymore. So people want to be able to work remotely. They enjoy nature more. And yes, what better job than to be in agriculture? You get to be outside a lot. So
Your office is in a bucket.
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be. You can do trials. You can do, and I think that's what I enjoy most about my job. There are office days, but there's also a lot of field days. So you get to choose. It's even better. If it's raining, I can do computer work. If it's a great day, I can go out to citrus orchards and do my thing. So
Jeanne, if you look down the road for yourself, what do you see yourself writing some more books? What are you thinking, looking into the future?
for sure, I think we'd like to expand these books to include fruits and maybe macadamias or something in future. Definitely more crops. So I'll continue with this for as long as I possibly can, as long as what Lawveld allows me to. And from a career point of view, I actually recently moved from a very big multinational company to Lawveld Agrichem. I wanted to give back. So I've learned a lot from these big multinational chemical companies, a lot of exposure, understanding the development of new chemistry, etc. But I want to bring it back now to field level. And that's why I recently accepted a position with Lawveld Agrichem as one of the Western Cape. They call it a business manager, but it's basically everything. So that for me is a big personal goal and value, is I've learned a lot and I want to give back now. So
Fantastic. And the very best of luck with that, because what you're doing, the passion shows, and looking at these incredible books, I can imagine that people just are not going to stop asking for these books. And keep doing what you're doing. Go for it. You're an inspiration.
Got a closing question.
Sure.
That we get a question from the previous guy for the next person. And
Just a random
I'm
question.
not going to tell you who it's from, and they might not know who it went to.
is it Sean?
And we'll get
No,
one,
it's not Sean.
and we get one from you too to send to the next
And
person.
it can be anything. It doesn't have to be agriculture related. So the question was beach, bird, or bush, and I can just see if it's bush, you're going to be looking for bugs the whole day.
So the question is, who are you? Which one do you like most?
I want all three. So I want the beach, the bird, and the bush.
Can't fault that.
So maybe, I'm sure there's somewhere a piece of like coastline which has a beach on the right hand side and then like a bush on the other side. So yeah, no, I want my bread buttered on both sides.
Yeah, now that you mentioned Eleonora Alsop and her husband Mike, who works with the bees.
Oh, yes.
We've also had a podcast with. We always joke. I wonder what they talk about around the dinner table.
But I've always said to Dewald that Eleonora, she should be the role model. People shouldn't be looking at Hollywood stars and people like that.
No.
But Eleonora, she should be the role model that you show your children.
No, I take my hat off to her, and she's an amazing inspiration. And she as I said, she's the one. She was like the pioneer going in there initially. And the Oitani is like there's a lot of she doesn't stop. And I think she's nearing retirement now, but we're not going to let her go that easily. So we've actually.
I don't think she would want to go that easily.
You've approached?
We've approached her actually because this grapevine book needs to be translated into English, and she helped us so much with the editing, etc. So she offered to write this for us in English. So who better to ask? And so you'll be seeing more of Eleonora for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Is there
Thank you,
anything
Jeanne.
that you want to finish with? Is there any comment that you'd like to end with?
No, I think I'd like to take my hat off to what you guys are doing. So I think you're really getting the message out there, and you're giving a platform and a bit of spotlight to people who don't necessarily always get the opportunity to shine.
Sometimes we force them.
So well, that's why you've got spotlights and cameras. But no, I really like the way that you're out there, and you're at the right time, at the right place to kind of see what's really happening out there and to tell their story. And I wish we had more people like you guys. So
Thank you.
that would be my closing remarks. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jean. Thank you.